She accused me of emotional abuse and filed a restraining order, all because I questioned her $2,300 bag. So I cut every card, ended her lease, froze the money. And 3 days later her lawyer came crawling back begging me to forgive her. When I look back at my life, I never imagined that at 34, I would be sitting in a courtroom because of the woman I once thought I would marry. If someone had told me this a few years ago, I would have laughed and called it impossible. But life has a way of showing you the truth you tried to ignore for far too long. Her name was Madison, 29 at the time. When I first met her, she was like a magnet that drew people in without effort. She was bright, charming, always smiling. The kind of person who could walk into a room and instantly become the center of attention. I won't pretend otherwise. From the start, I was pulled into her orbit completely. But behind that sparkling exterior lived another side of her. One that took me much longer to recognize. Madison had an appetite for luxury, for status, for things that shouted to the world that she was living a perfect life. In the beginning, I looked past it. She would max out a credit card, and I would pay it off. She would forget to pay her rent, and I would step in quietly. When her birthday came around and she demanded a trip to Miami despite having no real income, I told myself she deserved it, that eventually she would find her ground and build stability. She'll get on her feet soon, I kept repeating, turning that sentence into my favorite excuse. For almost 4 years, I played the responsible partner, the rock that held things together. Madison was the dreamer, the social butterfly, the one who lived for the applause of others. I told myself that opposites attract, but what I didn't admit was that opposites can also wear each other down slowly, one compromise after another. The turning point came from something that might seem small to others, but to me, it was the final straw. I saw a charge of $2,300 on my American Express. A single purchase. When I asked about it, Madison shrugged and told me she had bought herself a designer bag. It wasn't just the money that shook me, though it was a huge amount to spend without a word. It was the timing. Just a week earlier, she had cried about her student loan payments, saying she didn't know how she could handle them. I had spent nights pacing the apartment, running numbers in my head, trying to figure out how to ease her stress. And then she did this. So I confronted her, calmly and without yelling. I simply asked, "Why would you buy that when you've been telling me you can't even pay your bills?" That was when she snapped. Her eyes flashed with something darker than anger. It was calculation. "You're always watching me," she screamed. "You treat me like a child. This is financial abuse." At first, I thought it was just a dramatic outburst in the heat of the moment. But then I realized she had been waiting for this, waiting for a chance to twist my care into a weapon against me. 2 weeks later, my world shifted. A man in a gray suit knocked on my door and handed me a packet. Inside was a temporary restraining order. According to Madison's statement, I was controlling, manipulative, and abusive with money. Her evidence? Screenshots of texts where I asked why she kept overdrawing her account. An email where I suggested she stop ordering food delivery every night. That was it. No threats, no name-calling. Just me pointing out reality. But there it was, signed and stamped. No contact. 200 yards distance. Effective immediately. I sat in silence, stunned. This wasn't a fight that had escalated too far. This was a strategy, a weapon she had been holding in her pocket, waiting for the right time. Many people in my place might have panicked, called her, begged to work things out. But I made a different choice. I went silent, completely silent. If she wanted distance, I would give her exactly that, but along with consequences. By Friday, my plan was in motion. I removed her from my health insurance with one call. I canceled every credit card she had access to. I froze the joint savings account that she dipped into whenever she wanted. On Saturday, I went to the dealership and removed myself as guarantor on her car lease. Without me, she had 30 days to prove she could afford it or risk repossession. On Sunday, I canceled all the small things, streaming services, food delivery accounts, and even the emergency allowance I had set to transfer each month. Every step was documented, every receipt saved. I wasn't angry. I was clear. For the first time in years, the fog had lifted. If she wanted to call me controlling, then fine. I would follow the order perfectly. No contact. No financial lifeline. Nothing. By the end of that weekend, I had pulled away completely, and for the first time, Madison was on her own. It didn't take long for the cracks to appear. By Monday morning, my phone buzzed. The caller introduced himself as Madison's attorney. His voice was calm, polished, the tone of a man who spent his life cleaning up other people's messes. My client is experiencing unforeseen hardships due to your abrupt financial decisions, he said. I almost laughed out loud. She had taken me to court, claimed I was abusive, and now her lawyer was begging me to keep paying her bills. I answered without hesitation. Per the restraining order, I'm not allowed to have contact with her. Financial support would be contact. I'm following the rules exactly. Silence followed. Then he tried again, asking if we could work something out. I replied coldly, no need. I'm enjoying this distance. Tell her thanks. And with that, I hang up. From that moment, I felt a freedom I hadn't known in years. The very law she tried to use against me had become my shield. But Madison was falling apart. Her Instagram, once filled with rooftop brunches and designer shopping bags, shifted to bitter quotes about toxic men and financial abuse. Her friends began messaging me from random numbers, accusing me of abandoning her. I forwarded every message to my lawyer. Harassment by third parties, a direct violation of her own order. Then came the fallout. Her car was repossessed because she couldn't make payments without my support. Her apartment lease crumbled because I was no longer the guarantor. Screenshots surfaced showing Madison bragging to friends. The restraining order will scare him into paying. He can't risk looking bad in court. Those screenshots landed in my lawyer's inbox, and within days, her own attorney dropped her. Things only got darker. Madison's mother, Denise, tried to forge my signature at a bank to co-sign a loan. She was caught and charged with forgery. The apple had not fallen far from the tree. Around the same time, Madison tried launching a GoFundMe, painting herself as a survivor of financial abuse. She raised a mere $120 before people exposed her lies, posting old screenshots of her bragging about never paying a bill. The fundraiser was shut down as fraud. By the fourth week, Madison showed up at my office building screaming that I had ruined her life. Security stopped her, and she violated her own restraining order. Police arrested her on the spot. Her mother tried to spin the story into a public campaign, but when reporters pressed her about the forgery charges, she lost her temper. A video of the meltdown went viral not as advocacy, but as comedy. Meanwhile, my life grew quiet. No more shouting matches. No more hidden bills. I took the $4,000 I once spent on her lifestyle and redirected it to myself. I bought the motorcycle I always dreamed about. I signed up for pottery classes just because it made me feel grounded. For the first time, I felt like I was living for myself instead of covering for someone else's chaos. Eventually, her lawyer reached out again, asking if Madison could dissolve the restraining order and reestablish contact. I replied instantly, no thanks. She said I was abusive. I wouldn't want to endanger her again. That was the end. Now, Madison lives back in her mother's cramped apartment, working a retail job, posting old vacation photos as if she's still living the high life. From what I hear, she's already clinging to a new guy. Maybe he'll learn the lesson I did, maybe not. As for me, my stress is gone. My life is peaceful. And for the first time in years, I am free. The biggest lesson I took from it all is simple. Sometimes the best revenge isn't yelling or fighting back. Sometimes the best revenge is silence. Letting their own choices speak louder than any words you could ever say. And that silence, believe me, is louder than every argument we ever had. Thank you for listening till the end. Hit that subscribe button for more stories like this.